The Willapa Bay is definitely probably the cleanest harbored bay I feel in the United States. There's two reasons that I feel. One is definitely the lack of industry along the rivers that feed into the bay, and of course the other one is the rivers themselves.
Well, this is what we call a dredge bag. Some people call it an oyster collector. That's the official term. We drag this along the bottom, and after a few minutes, we'll pick it up and swing it on board, dump it on deck. That's how we pick them up. I like being on the water, and I like being in control with the machine. Sometimes the machine runs the show, but I like being in control of the machine. Doing this is like mowing a lawn with a blindfold on. A full dredge bag weighs about 900 pounds. You don't know where the lawn is. I mean, you have an idea where the lawn is. You don't know where the grass is that you're trying to cut, so you come out, you put the blindfold on, you step out of your house, you fire the lawnmower up, you start going back and forth. And then after a couple, 3 hours, you take the blindfold off and you look at what you've done and you go, oh, okay, I see. And so you put the blindfold back on, you go back to home. We know where the beds are because when the tide goes out, the beds are just mud. So we go out in the speedboat and we put up stakes, what we call stakes, which are trees, basically, poke them in the mud, and that's how we know where we're going. That's our mechanical harvesting. As opposed to hand harvesting, which is back-breaking, low tide work.
We send out a scattering crew of about 20 to 30 high school kids every summer, and they go out to each one of our oyster beds, and they'll take all these spots where the oysters grew the best and the thickest, and they'll spread them out, and they will actually scatter them to the thin spots.
Most of our local trucks, you know, maybe a 700 bushel would be a maximum load for some of the dredges that we, you know, that fill the trucks in the first place. You know, that's a good 50,000, 60,000 pounds of oysters.
Well, part of my job checking buckets for it's kind of twofold. One is to kind of examine the oyster to see what kind of quality they are, if they're soft or if they might have some sort of algae bloom in them. Sometimes they get a little red color. That's just part of it. But the main reason I count oysters is that's how our openers get paid. Randomly throughout the day, I'll take about every 40, 45 minutes, I'll take a sample and count them, count the number of cuts, which is damaged oysters in the bucket, and record that. And when that bed is finished, I'll average them out and multiply them by the price. And the openers get paid, which is per oyster, and that's how we come up with the price that they get paid, because they're all piecework for their pay. So it's just kind of a check on the openers, and also it's how they get paid. The oyster washing tank, which is chilled water, which is between 32 and 36 degrees, agitated to get all the debris and shell and mud off of them, and then onto the grading table where our ladies grade by size before they go onto the packing table for packing into containers and then on into cases for shipping.
You'll find a pearl in an oyster maybe once a year. If you open all year long, you'll find maybe 1 or 2 pearls a year at the most.
We pack 8 ounce, 10 ounce, and 16 ounce, and they put them in the cups and they go on the line, and we add hydrocooler water again to make sure they're cold, and through the seamer. And then the cups get rinsed and dried so that there's no pieces of oyster on the container. And they lid them and box them, and they get palletized according to how they're being shipped, whether it's truck or air freight. And then from there, they go immediately into the freezer to chill down for about 6 hours.
All the shell is recycled throughout the company. The better shells are tumbled and put into the bags that we use for setting, and then the balance of the shell is recycled and used for putting out within the bay for a natural catch setting, or a portion of the shell is sold oftentimes to the Corps engineers to be used as a crab mitigation project for deep draft dredging in Grays Harbor. And so it's used quite literally. There's requests for landscaping shell at times. Fish hatcheries have bought in shell from us, so all the shell is used of and not just tossed away.
I do like oysters.
No. No, I never have.
Yes, I do. I like oysters. I eat them pretty regular, but I don't care for raw oysters. I like to cook them.
I do, yep.
I worked here 20 years and I don't eat the oysters.
I love them. I eat them.
I definitely like oysters.